Hello. I'm walking to a friend's house. Wanted to record a quick little video while I'm thinking about it. I wanted to talk about fucking up. Like the discomfort of making a mistake, of transgressing against somebody, of hurting people, of doing things that you knew weren't good to do when you did them. Dealing with the consequences of that and all that stuff. Because I feel like I've been in a personal reckoning myself, having to face the reality of my relationships, given the fact that I decided to show up in particular ways while I was dating, in particular, my last partner, Nate. Yeah. I chuckle because it's just an uncomfortable space to be in when all the defenses kind of die down, all the things kind of stop, when let me take a little seat, when the denial is all I can think of, really, when the denial stops and the machine stops. My aunt actually phrased it very well. When you're in the mix, right, when you're so close up and personal, it's hard to see anything that's going on because you're in it. It is in taking a step back, right, that you gain perspective. It's being able to be, you got to be out of it and away from it for long enough for you to be able to be like, oh, let it sit, let it marinate, as a good friend of mine used to say. So I have been letting it marinate. The official end of my relationship, like cutting, like no more communication between me and my ex, was January of this year. And it's been the first time for real that we're actually not talking. Because we had, cut off communication in the past. Or said we weren't going to talk, and then would fold on ourselves and end up talking. And this is the first time where that is not the case. We are actually not in communication. And it has been so refreshing. It's painful, right? The grief that I've been experiencing has been immense. Like processing, learning to deal with loss, grieving somebody who's alive, That's been a whole thing. That's not what this video is about. But in the space, amidst the grieving, right? The grieving is happening, but also as I get to just sit with my feelings, sit with with what's happened, reflect. I don't know, it slowly dawns like, there were things that were not so healthy about that dynamic, or things that were really not, that were destructive, honestly, to my relationships, to his relationships, to our friendships. Disruptive, if we don't want to say destructive, right? But like definitely put a damper on it and put some pressure on it. Right, and it's not so much, I don't know, in the beginning you're like, oh, it's that person. Oh, it's like, you can say even who I was with that person. That's closer to the truth. But like, it is ultimately, it was how I was moving at that time. And how, I don't know, it's very uncomfortable to sit with the fact that, my relationships are in disconnection because of things from the past, for sure, but also from actions, from my own contribution, my own actions, things that I have done to contribute to the dynamic of the space, right? It's not, I don't know, I don't often see conflicts that are just one person's business or one person's fault. It is always a mutual, takes two to tango type of thing. So yeah, it's been a humbling experience, and I realized how, like I was saying in my previous video about addressing conflict requiring maturity, requiring emotional regulation, requiring vulnerability, and also like a commitment to the relationship, right? Like to be able to engage in conflict with somebody means that you care, right? It's like there's a desire that this relationship continues, or it's an addressing that this relationship cannot continue for the preserving of, both, or one or both parties. But I'm bringing this up now again, these skills are again relevant, especially when it comes to receiving feedback and receiving information and listening to another person's perspective when you are the person who has done wrong. When you are the, I guess, perpetrator would be one word, right? The one who broke the trust, the violator, the transgressor, the bad guy, the villain, however you identify that. But when somebody is now, okay, so there's levels to it, right? First, you got to make the decision that you're going to listen to this because you care about this relationship and you want to know what's up. And this is where you make the decision. Okay, I'm not gonna listen to this to defend. I'm not gonna listen to this to make them understand what I'm doing, why I did what, all these things. You gotta make the decision that this relationship is important to me, and I care to listen to what this person feels. So, almost decentering yourself, removing yourself from the source of, like, because if someone cusses you out, I don't know. For me nowadays, if someone were to cuss me out, I'd be like, wow, you are angry. You are angry and you want to exert that on somebody. What's going on? Because I'd be like, there's a way we can talk about it. So why are you yelling at me? And instead of, I feel like back in the day, I'd be like, why are you yelling at me? Or like, I'm not going to be spoken to. And I feel like that's fair. If your boundaries, if you don't want to be spoken to that way, you don't want to be spoken to that way. It also, if you set the container, and then somebody gets, they're getting emotional and they're getting passionate about what they're sharing, I think it's very important this is where emotional regulation comes in, able to be like, okay, I'm listening to this person, tell me about their experience of me. I'm not going to cut in, I'm not going to interject, I'm not going to change their experience, I'm just trying to hear what they got to say so that I can hear it for its entirety. Even when you're listening, there's a bunch of bullshit to it, you think it's all lies, you think it's, unless they're attacking you, right? If someone's attacking you, be like, okay, I do not appreciate being spoken to like this. If it continues, I'm going to have to be out for a moment so that we can continue this conversation. We're not having a conversation now if you're attacking me, right? That's one thing. But also if somebody's saying something hard to hear, or like, if you've done something that has hurt somebody, it's not going to be easy to hear, but listening to it. And again, it helps to be like, I'm just listening to this person right now. Even, just not making it all about you is really what I'm trying to say. After that, then it's about you, right? It's also like listening, but checking in with yourself. If you feel things flaming up, you feel yourself about to start talking, you feel you're about to interrupt, but about to defend yourself, just acknowledge what's going on, right? I feel my heart racing. I feel my throat tensing. I feel like I'm balling up my fist. I feel like I'm ready to cry. I feel, like you feel your feelings. Say it inside. Feel it first. And then when you feel it, are able to identify how you're feeling, then you can share, okay, when you said this thing, it made my heart rise because it made me feel like you're perceiving me as an inconsiderate dick. And like, that's one of my greatest fears. And so to hear it is very shocking and disappointing for me. I feel disappointed in myself, and I feel, but I want to be able to acknowledge that so that I can listen to you, because if I'm disappointed in myself, I can only imagine how that made you feel, and that's like a place to start. If, like, I'm not always a person for apologies. I have to be really about it and really mean an apology to extend an apology. I'm not one to just go, okay, I'm sorry, whatever. Like, no, if I'm going to apologize, it's going to be specific. It's going to be like, I'm sorry for, not considering your desires and going over what you wanted just because I wanted a particular thing. That was very inconsiderate, and I'm working on respecting people's boundaries. And sometimes I need a reminder, and it's no excuse about my childhood being like, there was no boundaries, but also it's not a skill that I was raised with, so it's something that I'm learning in adult life now. And I appreciate your patience and growing with me, if that's an example. Yeah, but it's like reducing the whole point of this is really reducing the reactivity of receiving the news that you fucked up, or especially when you know, it's just like, don't even, and there's two directions, right? There's the super defensive, almost angry route, and then there's like the sad, I always hurt the people around me. It's like weird, because you're, instead of letting the moment be about, because the transgression involves two people, right? It's not just about you, the person who was hurt. It's not just about you, the person who did the hurting. There's a time and place for both people to share their part. Yeah, but again, it requires, maturity, emotional regulation, vulnerability, and again, I think this new thing I'm introducing more new concept to the idea of conflict and how to navigate it well is this commitment between the relationship of like, I care about you and I want to be able to be honest with you. And if we're going to be able to continue in this relationship, there are things that we both need to be able to share. Both want to be able to navigate this space. Even if we don't have all the tools right now, even if we're not clear on how to navigate it, we both have the willingness to, engage in this in a different way so that we can gain understanding and move through it. Or realize we can't move through it and navigate differently from there too. If it means closing out the relationship, that's a different conversation. But there's, this eye for commitment, this willingness to talk about what this relationship means to y'all. Why would you engage in this conversation or why would you not? Yeah, that's all I got. That's what I was thinking about. Felt like I should share. So enjoy your conflicts. Also, I wanted to come back and say real quick, silence is also a very, very, very important tool. Right? If someone's sharing with you and you feel the urge to interject, say all these other things, go on top of it, erase it, etc., check in, right? Just hold the silence. Even if you count you set a time in your head, 45 seconds, 30 seconds. Count in your mind for that time and allow it to sit, because that I would say is also, before you even jump to this is what it's making me feel, right? It's in that 30 seconds of time that you're pausing that you can identify also with how you are feeling, right? Before jumping to defending yourself. So practice the pause.